For as long as I can remember, my little sister Rachel had always been extremely shy and timid. She stands a whole 5'2", with long curly brown hair, and she's so light I'm afraid she'll drift off into the wind. Growing up, it was always just the two of us, and I'm a proud big brother. While my parents were working to make ends meet, I was a young boy taking care of a sister half his age. It never bothered me, not for 1 minute. I vowed I would always be there for her when she needed me. It was always just the two of us, but time went on and I had to start living my own life. I dreaded breaking the news to her that I was going off to college. Hell, I even thought about not going at all and just working somewhere. But I needed to live. I started to regret always being there for her, having just the two of us against the world, since she never got out of her shell to make her own friends. She bawled her eyes out when I finally went off to college, but we talked every day. I was still going to be there for her, even though we were apart. Then, more time passed, and I was working a great job, and engaged to an amazing woman who gets along with my parents and adores my little sister. Things were going well, and I wished that things would go well for Rachel. But when she said she was going off to college, I couldn't help it. I worried about her. Rachel has never had any friends, at all, which is fine, but when she announced to the family that she just got accepted to an amazing college in another state, I was worried that she would be eaten alive. She's just so painfully shy that a sudden noise would probably give her a heart attack. Then again, maybe she's different. Maybe I'm just worrying too much. Rachel is an adult. She doesn't need me to hold her hand. When the time came for her to head off to her new college life, she had video called me to tell me that she was all packed and ready to head out. She was actually smiling ear to ear. I've never seen her so excited before. That really put my heart at ease, and I told her to have a safe trip. Her university was a few hours away, and I insisted she take frequent breaks, follow the speed limit, and have her seatbelt on. She laughed as she assured me that everything was going to be okay. That night, Rachel had called me to tell me she was already settled into her dorm. I spent most of the day worrying, but I'm glad she made it okay. She had sent me a selfie of her with her new dorm mate, Madison. Rachel had been telling me all about her, and how they had been texting since they found out about their dorms. She was so excited to finally have a friend. Madison seemed really nice. She was a bit taller than Rachel, and she has short, straight black hair, and is usually seen wearing all black, your typical goth girl. But they seemed to get along great. Days turned into weeks as time flew by. Finally, October came. Rachel still texted me whenever she had a chance. One day she messaged me that she was going to a Halloween party with Madison. I didn't really think much of it. If anything, I was excited for her. I've been so nervous about her adjusting. But she seems to finally have broken out of that cocoon of shyness. I told her to have fun and stay away from boys. She responded with a shocked face emoji. My night's activities were pretty tame. My fiancé works nights as a nurse, so I was at home alone watching horror movies and passing out candy to trick-or-treaters. It was around 9 p.m. when I ran out of candy, so I turned off the porch light and locked up, eager to finish up this movie about a certain hockey-masked killer. My phone started to buzz. When I looked at it, I saw it was an image from Rachel. She had sent me a selfie of her and Madison. They both were dressed up as, I guess they were witches or something. She sent me a message that said, "First college party," and I couldn't help but laugh at her awkwardness. I've never been around her university, so I'm not sure where they were, but the building looked old and decrepit. I asked her where the party was, and she told me it was at an old dorm. That really threw me off. I asked her to give me some more details. Rachel told me that Madison had a bunch of friends, and they were actually going to sneak into the building and have a few drinks there. I couldn't believe it. Now I started to worry again. But she's an adult. I should let her live her life, so I refrained from giving her a lecture. I just told her to have fun and be careful. Also to let me know if she gets arrested, because our parents would have a heart attack if she did. A few minutes passed, and I decided to give her university a quick search online. Not because I was nervous, but I was just curious. After going through some message boards, I found rumors that the dorm was shut down a few years ago due to a fire. Apparently, a student had set the place ablaze one night. The stories online said the student had a few altercations with others in the dorm, and one night, out of pure rage, they covered the place and people in gasoline and set them on fire. I shuddered after that. Perhaps it was just the movies I was watching, but reading that sent a chill down my spine. I couldn't believe I was letting some ghost stories online scare me. So I switched the TV off and got on YouTube to watch some wholesome, funny videos. A few videos in, and I got another notification on my phone. It was another image from Rachel. This time it was a photo of a red Solo cup filled with beer, with another message saying, "First beer in college." This made me laugh and cringe, but as I looked at the photo, I saw something else. In the photo, it was her outstretched hand holding a cup of beer. The flash was on, and it showed that she was facing a dark hallway, I assume where the dorm rooms were at. Maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, but peering from one of the open dorm rooms, I thought I saw someone's face. I rubbed my eyes and looked at the photo again, but it was gone. I shrugged it off and just told her not to drink too much. I figured that I must have been tired, so I crashed onto my bed, but I couldn't get the image of that face out of my mind. It was so skinny and gray. It had patches of black hair sitting on its head as it peered out of the doorway. It was grinning. I shook the image out of my head, right as I heard my phone go off again. This time it was a selfie with Rachel and Madison. They were holding up red Solos cups in a cheers gesture, and she sent me another message saying, "Here's to my new friends." I was confused, as it was just her and Madison, until I saw that face again. It was shrouded in the darkness, staring at them, at her. I didn't know what was going on, but I decided to call her. After a few rings, she finally responded. She was shouting a bit. There was some loud rock music playing in the background. She asked if everything was okay, but I was the one that should be asking that. She was telling me how good of a time she was having, but it didn't sound right. The way she was talking was extremely slurred and slow. Was she drunk? I thought to myself. I heard something shift and another voice was on the line. It was Madison. Madison assured me that everything is okay and that she's been taken care of. But the way she said it unsettled me. It sounded so sinister. There was silence. She must have hung up on me. I sat there and stared at my phone. Was Rachel in trouble? Should I call the police or something? But what would I tell them? The cops wouldn't even give me the time of day if I told them that I was seeing creepy things in the pictures my sister was sending me. I slumped back onto my head, staring at the screen of my phone, when it began to light up. Another message from Rachel, except this time, it was a video. The video was of her dancing, but there was no music playing. I could hear laughing, but it was low, and it sounded like they were inhaling instead of exhaling, as if whatever was laughing was poorly imitating the sound of someone doing so. The video was only 30 seconds long, but as she danced in silence, it cut off right when something emerged from the darkness. I freaked out. I started to call her again. No answer. So I continued to call, to no avail. That was when my phone started to ring. It was Rachel, and it was a video call. I accepted it and saw Rachel walking down a dark hallway. She was holding something. Holding something's hand. It was leading her deeper into the darkness, and I could hear its light footfall, like a wet thud hitting the ground. I called out to her, and what responded were whispers. The whispers were dozens upon dozens of different tones, a chorus of dissonant, pained voices emanating from the abyss of blackness as she stepped into it more and more. Whatever was leading her stopped and looked towards the phone. It was a monster, a demon of some kind, an abomination. It was the face I saw earlier, but it wasn't just one body. As the light from the phone slightly illuminated the creature, I saw that it was a body made of other bodies, bits of flesh and bone jutting out. Its skin wriggled, and I noticed that its skin was countless fingers and toes all writhing together. The creature's body was shifting with each second, revealing mouths and ears and eyes. The whispers were coming from it, the sound of fear and pain coming from this damned amalgamation. I saw that Rachel was holding a hand that was attached to it, and from the hand, countless fingers stretched onto her, wrapping around her arms like fleshy tendrils. Rachel was completely silent as she followed the creature. I cried out to her. I begged her to stop and run away. But nothing. They stepped into a dorm room that was completely blackened and burned. Rachel stood in the middle of the room, in front of the monster. Its body began to shift again, and parts of its body began to open, small slits in its skin revealing dozens and dozens of mouths, each open wide to show sharp, blackened teeth. I heard Madison's voice. She was sobbing and apologizing. I shouted at her, asked her what was going on, and all she could say was, "I called it to help me stop the bullying, but it won't stop now. It needs food. It needs to eat. Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. I yelled. I cried as I saw the creature embrace Rachel. In its embrace, I heard blood spatter and flesh tear as each of the mouths began to bite into her, eating her. Rachel finally came to, and God, I wish that she didn't. She let out a blood-curdling shriek as she tried to resist the creature. The monster tightened its hold on her, and more of the mouths began to feast upon my baby sister. I couldn't watch anymore. I hung up and called the police, telling them everything. I knew I sounded crazy, but they had to go and save my little sister. I couldn't go to sleep. I was so worried. I rushed into the bathroom and vomited. The image of what happened burned into my memory forever. A few hours later, the police called me and told me there was nothing there. Weeks went by and there was nothing. Nothing found or nothing left of her. I gave the police my phone, and they investigated the photos. Unfortunately, they had no data on the video call. I told the cops to look into her dorm mate, Madison. The school said that there was no record of anyone named Madison, but they did say that a girl named Lisa was supposed to be her dorm mate, but she had disappeared. After doing some more research, I ended up finding a picture of Madison. She was the girl that had set fire to the dorms years before. Was she setting fire to her bullies? No, I think she was trying to get rid of whatever that thing was, that abomination, that fusion of tortured souls that it's eaten. My stomach churns as I remember it. My parents are still spending money in search of her. They are full of hope, but I know there's nothing left of her. Not one scrap.